This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Final Round Podcast, episode number 009. In front of us, almost missed the start of it. Glad that we got everything to work out okay. We got an interesting double episode lined up for the course tonight. We've apparently become masters at botching scheduling. So we've got episodes 9 and 10 on deck tonight. So you guys watching at home, if you want to stick around with us at the conclusion of this show, there's going to be another link that you can click right in the show post, and it's going to bring you to the second episode of the night tonight. Welcoming to the studio the 2016 Division I Super Comp champion, Ed Mcleaft. Thanks so much for making the drive all the way up from Pennsylvania. In the second hour, we're going to be bringing on the good folks from the Gas Racing Series. Bill Stevens making the trip up with a couple of fellow board members to come and chat a little bit about the Gas Racing Series. So again, that's going to be our second hour. Somewhere around 8 o'clock. The links are already up on the show page. So you can find that stuff, and then we'll make those available. Again, we're making those available independently. The goal also is so that we can get both of the episodes lined up in the Motorsports block on Finger Lakes Cable Access. Because if we streamed it all as one piece, it would have been too big, and they wouldn't have taken it. So it's I've never done this before. Doing 2 episodes back to back and both of them being live. It was I was in the process of switching everything over, so the GRS guys could go first because I didn't know where everybody was in their travels. But Jason making the trip in, joining us. What do you
Ed
think?
actually beat me here, so
yeah,
my car's faster.
yeah, it must be it. Yeah, that must be it.
That's
I don't doubt it. The Malibu's not very speedy. That's for sure. But yeah, thanks for having
my wife behind the wheel. That made a difference.
Did it? Well, you can see right there on the table with Ed the 2016 championship. Jason got a chance to touch it, breaking the rules of the Stanley Cup. You don't touch one until you win one. But nonetheless, I mean, that's a pretty nice award to be having sitting on the table next to you, huh?
I feel very privileged to have it. It's something you always dream of. So.
In terms of something, building off of that, it's something that you always dream about. How much of a dream season was last year to have the cards falling the right way, and soon enough this thing is starting to be something that you can taste and now you can actually hold?
Well, it was one of those deals we started off. We wanted to try NHRA. We've been an avid IHRA racer for years, and one of those deals you always wanted to try, but it's a bit intimidating to take the step and go try something new, I guess, We'd run 890 in IHRA for years, and we decided to give it a whirl this year. I wanted to hit enough to get some grade points and run a couple national events. That always kind of caught my eye and thought it'd be neat. Of course, win one of these would be even better, as far as a national event trophy. But I guess you walk before you run, right? So we thought we'd hit a few division races, get a few grade points, and next thing you know, we're leading the points and got to go for it then. So
right, you have to then.
Absolutely.
So why jump from IHRA to NHRA? What was the appeal?
Just something different, I mean, the people and everybody in IHRA, great people. I don't know, kind of a magnet. Everybody says you got to try NHRA. I didn't have a Wally, so we had a few IHRA Ironmen, and my buddy, we were sitting around a campfire one night, and he says, you got all these Ironmen. He says, but you don't have a Wally, so he says, got to get a Wally. So, well, we're going to try. So here we are, End up with a Division I to boot. So that was awesome. So
at this point, in terms of NHRA Division I Super Comp, you're 1 for 1?
As far as chasing the division, I guess we are. My rookie season, right? 30 years of racing and rookie season.
What about the progression to get to this point? I mean, you don't just wake up and start running this. You got to get tons of seat time, tons of passes, and you got to have a lot of disappointment in order to make this thing work.
Absolutely. 2017 is our 30th year we've been racing, so
really,
it's been overnight success, right?
Yeah.
So we started off bracket racing Beaver Springs back in 1987. Just every couple weeks we'd go race, just a weekend away. Our family, my dad, my mom, my brothers. It was just a weekend away to go play, and we started racing at Empire probably in the early 90s, or Empire Dragway. And we raced there for a while, and I always wanted to do some of the throttle stop racing. So 97, we bought a dragster, and Little by little, we, changed it around to run 890 class, and I guess little by little we just kept playing around, and we tried 2002 running our first season of the division races and hit a couple national events, did okay that year, and we chased the points in 2003 pretty good, and the IHRA finished 8th in the world and 2nd in the division.
So in terms of making this jump to follow it this year, I mean, you weighed a lot of the personal stuff, but what about the budget side of it to go from racing with IHRA, where you had things pretty much down to where you wanted to be? You're jumping into a little bit of uncharted waters with NHRA. What did that do to the budget, going from running, local tracks 17 years ago to now you're chasing the NHRA?
The one big thing that we noticed different between the IHRA format and the NHRA format is IHRA does a lot of the double races. So you travel to Pittsburgh or Maryland and you hit 2 races in one weekend, which was nice on the diesel fuel bill, but
sure.
NHRA is, a lot of people know they attract a bigger car count. So you can't fit everybody in, 2 races in one weekend. So we had to do a lot more traveling. We had 8 races. We traveled around to division races, and then we decided to hit a few national events to boot. So, the diesel fuel bill was the biggest issue, So, and the time away from work, you went from 4 weekends for 8 races in IHRA to 8 separate weekends. So,
what do you have now that you're running with? I mean, there's so many different options out there in terms of everything. The Super Comp gets pretty dialed in on specific combinations. What have you got for that? Well, what did you use last year, and what are you changing for next year?
We have a 2006 Mike Boss dragster. It's got a 582 big block Chevy in it, alcohol injected, so it's a little bit of an oddball as far as that goes. It'll run 720s, 730s off the stop, so it's one of the, I wouldn't say big mile-an-hour cars, but it's one of the bigger mile-an-hour cars there. As far as changing anything this year, we're probably going to tweak a few things over the winter here and go back to what we did last year.
Are you planning to follow the same schedule next year then?
Well, we've got a gold card now. We've got to go try again, So.
Now, what do you run injection-wise on that car?
It's got a Ron's Terminator setup on it.
It is a Ron's, okay.
Yeah, it's got a Ron's Terminator inline stop, so, it's a little odd compared to everybody else's setups, but you'll see a couple here.
I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was just talking to somebody, and they had a Ron's setup as well. And, they were asking how that they would stop the car. They're like, yeah, we'd like to stop it. Not really sure how we do it because we got an injection unit. And they're like, well, I guess we could probably just run an inline stop. And, yeah, the answer was, yeah, absolutely. You could definitely run an inline stop, especially if you have mechanical fuel linkage, which they did. It was a door car, and I should know who this is, but for some reason I can't remember.
It doesn't work too bad,
Well, I mean, obviously that's a great testament to it, right? And, my response to this person was that overall it's funny because initially when we all started, super class racing back in the 80s, everybody had inline stops. Everybody had some type of stop. It was either literally a bolt under the throttle linkage or, a solenoid inline that limited your overall throttle linkage travel. Everybody did that. Then the under the carb stops became very popular. And, there's a couple things now that you're seeing a lot of people go back to the inline stops. And at the end of the day, if you get your setup right, it doesn't really matter if you have an under the carb stop or an inline stop. They can be just as consistent. And obviously you're a testament to that. Being able to make an inline stop go and do what it needs to do to be win a championship. So yeah, it's definitely doable. So it's an interesting that it's exactly what you run. So if I can remember who the heck I was talking to, hopefully maybe they're watching the show. Hopefully I'll be like, okay, well I'm going to go talk because they're like, oh, we'll come talk to you about setting this up. It's like, no, go talk to Ed Mcleaf. He can tell you exactly what to do.
We've got a couple buddies running similar setups now, and I love the injection. It's been neat. It's been.
How long have you run the injection setup?
When we put the first dragster together in '97, I had one of the old Ron's toilets on it.
Yeah, so for quite a while then.
Absolutely.
So what's the common setup then? If you're saying yours is the oddball, the one that's sitting outside, what's the more common?
A gas carburetor, and like Jason said, a lot of them had the under carburetor stops on them.
That's still a popular one.
A lot of, I believe APD, I think it is now, has done the built-in stop right into the carburetor. It's an inline built right into the carburetor. So,
which is really trick. It's real nice. Boy, it's not cheap though, but it is a nice setup.
It's a nice piece. Yeah. We were looking at them in PRI, and the rule of thumb, everybody wants you to go with a gas carburetor, and
Right.
alcohol's out, and
Right.
so be an oddball, right?
Now, do you see any issues with keeping the car warm? When you're running it, not necessarily in the midsummer.
I was just
but-
going to ask that.
Yeah,
We've got an extra Primer Plus system on it.
Okay.
So we'll drive it to the lanes, warm it up on gas, and as I'm pulling in to do the burnout, a lot of times I'll switch it over.
Okay.
So I'll switch it over to alcohol right there, clean it out a few times, make the pass, and in the shutdown area, I'm switching it back over to gas. So
Right.
we've cut down on a lot of consumption of alcohol there, and I think we ran all last season, and we put a pile of runs on the car with 2 drums alcohol. So
Are you finding alcohol to be more finicky in terms of when you're tuning your carburetor itself, just because it's so much more prone to expansion? It's more
actually,
susceptible to air
we've been,
temperature?
we put 1 tune-up in it, and we've left it alone all summer.
Really?
And, I've been real happy as far as what I've seen window-wise. I guess it's 20 years of playing with it. You learn when the altitude changes, or however you want to look at it, vapor pressure, or whatever the changes might be. So we've been fortunate there.
What about on the side of the carburetor itself? Are you running a gas carburetor that was converted because you're still putting the gas through it, or are you running something that was specifically designed for alcohol and shoving the gas through it on the backside? Well, how's that combination sitting on top of the motor?
It's actually one of the Ron's Terminators. It's a mechanical fuel injection.
Okay.
So you've got a belt drive pump and a barrel valve and all the injection nozzles.
Gotcha.
So
I know a couple of guys that have just used the gas carburetor and shot the alcohol through it and said it's close enough, works fine.
It's gotten a little tight for that kind of racing anymore. There's been, a few weekends it was finicky and it was touch and go, and you just hold a couple extra or something, hope you can drive the finish line that day. So
Now, how long have you had this particular unit that you're running?
We put the Terminator on, I believe, 2 seasons ago.
Okay. Did you consider going to, let's call it the full-blown electronic fuel injection route? Or
I looked at that about 10 years ago, and everybody I talked to, they just didn't have that selling feature on it yet.
Sure.
So
again,
working on cars, you see how they can be finicky, and I said, we'll stick to what's been working. So.
Right. Yeah. I have to say that the electronic fuel injection units, they're pretty neat. But again, man, they're costly.
I think $4,000 or $5,000 is what they told me.
You're basically looking at $5,000. Now, I will say they've come down. It might have been Holly.
The technology has been around for a while, but it just wasn't embraced, right?
Yeah,
that's the system.
That really is the big thing, and I think you'll see it become more and more popular, assuming the Pro Stock sticks around as a class. Now that NHRA has mandated that Pro Stock is running fuel injection, I think you'll see more of that technology essentially filter down and become more readily available.
It certainly opens the option for the Prius-bodied cars.
That's right. That's exactly correct. I don't think there isn't. Yeah, no, there wasn't any Toyotas. Because now, I don't know if they'd ever see a Toyota in Pro Stock. But Toyota's a big NHRA sponsor, so it wouldn't surprise me if eventually they said, hey, we're going to have a, Celica, Camry, I don't even know.
Celica might be.
I don't even know what the. I don't know what the.
I think they ought to go with the Prius.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I will say that the electronic.
And let's face it, a Honda, an Avalon wouldn't look right with a big hood scoop on it anyway.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Now they're all cowl induction hoods, so no hood scoops on them. So yeah, a little bump in the hood, and
downsized everything.
Who knows? It might look cool. It certainly couldn't look any worse than some of the Pro Stocks look today, anyways.
I guess what would they run? Would they run their V8s? I would assume they would have to.
I guess out of the trucks, right?
I would think,
but.
That takes some R&D.
Oh yeah. We didn't see any. We didn't see any Pomona, so I doubt we're going to see any this year.
Not this year, probably.
The Tundra powered Celica.
Sure.
There you go.
Why
Makes
not?
Complete sense.
Well, it makes as much sense as a Toyota running fuel funny car, right?
Yeah, but those are cool.
Or the NASCARs.
Or the
NASCAR's
NASCAR,
got
right?
them too.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah, I'm sure some of that technology would.
it's got to be out there to a point, you know. But
Obviously, they'd be 140 odd inches short.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely. You get the cubic inch problem.
It's a slight issue that they'd have to overcome. Weld 2 more cylinders on the side of it. I don't know.
There you go. The V10.
Right. But yeah, the injection units, like I said, I've looked at the electronic ones, and it's just, you know, from a cost standpoint, and then there's a learning curve with it, obviously, as well. And there's nobody out there really running them for the most part. So
we'll see a few, but
right,
you know, like
but
you said, not many.
if you said
at
you
all.
want to go run one at Empire, and all right, I want to go, you know, get my feet wet. It's like, all right, well, who can I go talk to that can guide me? It's like,
But isn't there a price on that consistency, though? I mean, you're gonna dial in so much more consistency than the variability with a carburetor and having to mess around with all that, wouldn't you?
I mean, I guess I would say in theory, and I'm sure if you were to talk to the injection guys, they'd say, yeah, absolutely.
The salesman's going to agree.
Right, exactly.
Well, of course, there. Right?
But I'm
I'm sure you'd go through the learning curve, just like, you know, I mean, we went through a big learning curve with our deal.
Right.
You know, I looked at carburetors for a while, and I was like, no, I'm going to make this work. So, you know, they have had good years with it and bad years. You know, you change a few deals here and there, and you know, it's constantly. I chased it for a long time, but
I would say, what was the underlying selling point for you that made you say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to give the alcohol injection a go rather than going to a carburetor? Because the nice thing is, from a racing standpoint, it's like, all right, I know I can buy with a big block like that, right? I know I can buy a Dominator off the shelf, bolt it to the car, and I'm done.
That answer's easy. It's gardening, because if you use regular fuel, you don't have nearly as many empty barrels sitting around to collect rainwater.
Well, and I'm wondering, is that
that's for sure.
Was that
actually, when we were building the dragster in '97, I went to Maple Grove to the swap meet, and we were wandering around the swap meet there, and a guy had an intake with the complete toilet setup with a fuel pump, and I said, well, geez, I don't need to buy a fuel pump. I don't need to buy a carburetor. I don't need to buy this and that. I think I bought the whole setup for $900,
okay.
You know, so we started with that, and, you know, we just stuck with it over the years. So, and then I decided I wanted to try the throttle stop deal, and we put an inline stop on it and said, well, we're going to make it work, you know.
Right.
And, you know, as you said earlier, you know, you go through the trying times, or, you know, the learning curves, and it wasn't jump in and be competitive, you know. I mean, I did okay the first couple of years, but I'd hit Empire Nationals once a year or something.
Right.
And finally in '02, we said, you know, let's go at it and see if we can figure it out. And I ran runner-up to the Empire Nationals, I believe 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, you know, gives you that whole hook, you know.
There's
I
no
runner-up
doubt.
a couple times a year, and 2008 we won an IHRA Division championship, and then again in 2012. So.
Yep.
The way we're on, I said, you know, we can take a couple years off and go back in 2020. The way it looks, every 4 years.
Never IHRA national champ.
No.
What was the highest you finished in the national points?
I finished 8th in the world in 2003. 2008, I believe we were like 13th or something.
Okay.
And then they switched it to the tournament champions.
Right.
In 2012, finished 6th, I think. We lost at 6 cars. And,
Okay.
you know, they go by reaction time that round, so
Oh.
I think I was like 60 or something. I knew when I staged, I'm like, my head wasn't in it, and, you know, what are you going to do with a buy run on the next round, but into the finals. So
are you as happy as I am to see it go back to a points-based championship?
Yeah, especially, you know, when they first started the whole deal, you could win a race and go to the tournament of champions, you know, and you know, you go out and win one race, and you sit and wait till the end of the year, and you're world champion.
Right.
That didn't seem right, you know. But especially when there's all the other guys that spend the time and money running around and
That's right.
chasing the points, you know. So I think it's a great idea. I know they lost a lot of people that were points chasers, you know. I mean, same deal. It's like, you know, you go to Memphis and you have a bad day, or the car breaks, or however you look at it. You know, you had an awesome season, and now everything's on the line for one race, and, you know. So I think it's a great idea in my opinion.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it stinks to have, like you said. I mean, well, Pete Dagnola, right? Last year, Pete Dagnola, and was it in the finals? I think it was not in 2016, but 2015. I think he lost in the race in the finals, and the car broke. And I think he had the better reaction time and left the line. The car broke, and You watched?
I think 14. He finished second. I remember.
Oh, was it 14?
Stillings, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought it was Stillings that won. So it was 14. Okay.
Yeah, because we were down there watching that one. So
I remember watching it on. They were broadcasting it live, and it was like, oh no, why is he not going? Oh my God.
That race.
So yeah, that definitely sucks. And like I said, I mean, to have a great season like that all year and then have it go down the toilet. So yeah, I definitely like the going back to the points championship. And as you mentioned earlier, the fact that they have 8 races. I think at this year, honestly, we're probably going to make a go in IHRA Super Rod and with the for the series or for the overall championship, just because of the fact that it's 4 weekends. One of the weekends, obviously, we're going to be at Empire anyways.
Absolutely.
You have the double at Pittsburgh that they're paying in Super Rod.
Wait,
they're paying.
Did I miss something? Did you get a trailer?
No,
okay.
no, not yet. So,
car?
yeah. No, we got to. Yeah, we got to get that straightened out still. But and then at Pittsburgh, they're paying $6,500 to win in one of the Super Rod races.
Get the $5,000 bonus.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're doing that at Maryland too. So.
Okay.
And then we talked about the Dragway 42, with that being brand new. It's like everybody wants to go out there and see what that new track is. Well, it's like, there's your 4 weekends. It's like, why not give it a go? I mean,
absolutely.
And you might find out that, all right, we're 3 weekends in and this has been an absolute disaster. Okay, forget it. We're not going to
But you can pull the plug then, and it's not so bad.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you just always hate to look back and say, geez, I really wish I would have gone to these 2 races because all I needed was entry points to be, world champion or whatever, right?
Yep.
I don't want to be that guy either. So, but yeah, that's definitely the nice thing about IHRA compared to NHRA, where they do kind of drag you through the mud with regards to travel. It's a long haul.
It was a bunch of long hauls. I mean, we were from Toronto. We went to the National Open, as I was saying earlier. We ended up winning that one, and it was kind of one of those deals. My dad passed away 2014. You always want to win one for Dad,
right?
And he was such an instrumental role in everything, and I just couldn't get it done. I was to 3 finals. I couldn't get the job done.
Right.
I'd go 1,000 red in the finals, or we had a broken converter in the finals the one day,
yep.
and it just wasn't meant to be. So at the National Open, we won our first Wally there, and it was on Father's Day to boot. So
that's cool.
Kind of a neat deal,
yeah.
One of those bittersweet moments.
Yeah.
But, so we came home, and I think we went to Pittsburgh because we still had a full IHRA slated schedule still, and
right.
I didn't do anything down there. First round and second round, I think. Drove like a rookie down there, and hero to zero.
Right.
But we went down there, and I think we went to Lebanon Valley final the next weekend,
yep.
and made it to 3 cars out in Lebanon Valley, and that's where we took over the points lead. And
yep.
Davey Markle comes to me and he goes, "Hey," he says, "it's probably 3rd round or something. No pressure, and I probably shouldn't be telling you this right now, but he says, hey, they just announced that you took over the points lead." I'm like, "Thanks, buddy. It's just what I need,
right,
a little
right.
extra pressure." But lost a good race, 3 cars, and took over the points lead, and decided we might as well go to Epping and see where it goes from there. And we were fortunate, won Epping, and I guess the rest is history.
Now, last race of the season, you had to travel someplace, right?
The last race of the season, we decided to. We still had a shot at finishing top 10 nationally.
Okay, that's what it was.
I think we were sitting 10th when we left to go to Dallas.
Okay, yeah.
We decided to. I had 3. That would have been our 3rd race in, and you have the best 3 of 6. And we were at. Indy was our first national event. I mean, nothing like going to Indy for your first trial, It didn't start off the greatest, but we went a few rounds when it was all said and done. I think we had a 3rd round loss there. I gave the stripe back by 7-10 thou. So, want to kick your butt all the way home.
Right. Indy's a tough race, though. It's totally different from all the other races because
it's just so long.
It's so long. The conditions every single run basically are different. It's that. There's no doubt. I mean, in years past, it was always if you won Indy, it was the granddaddy. It was the greatest race that you could possibly win. And, from a sportsman standpoint, I have to say that it still really is the race to win. If you win Indy, man, you definitely got your stuff together.
For it.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, that's a crazy race. And, to have that be your first race, you certainly picked a good one, I guess.
There's no handbook on, what to do, where to go, how to, go through tech.
That's right.
We had no idea. We'd ask this person, they'd give us one story, and the next person, they'd give us another story. And,
right.
We ran around like idiots trying to, get everything done. They're calling super comp to the lanes, and, we haven't even got a parking spot with the motorhome yet, So they gave us a cleanup run later in the day. So, we got all 3 qualifiers in, but it just didn't start off real well, So we ended up doing Charlotte and Maple Grove. So I guess Dallas was actually our 4th race. And I had a couple first-round losses in there, and we were still sitting 10th in the nation. And I said, my wife Carrie, my brother Brian, they're all, you got to go. You might never have this opportunity again. So, we did. We hauled to Dallas, and again, another wonderful first-round loss. But kid throws 90 with a 0 at your first round.
Yeah, and again,
so.
and again, if you were to look back on it, and let's say you didn't go, you'd be
wondered all winter.
You'd be $1,500 richer, I suppose, right? But aside from that, you would have wondered all like I said, all winter, and probably years down the road until you finally did finish in the top 10 nationally. That geez, I had that opportunity, and why didn't
hopefully we can do that one of these days. Right?
You hope, right? Yeah.
Hope so.
Now, are you going to go? Obviously, you're going to, like I said, you got the gold card, so obviously you're going to go into all the NHRA races. Are you going to travel IHRA? Are you going to do IHRA races too?
Right now, we don't have anything scheduled.
Okay. Because that's a lot of racing.
Yeah, we got to have a week off here or there. You
right.
know? So as far as what we have scheduled right now is basically the NHRA Division races, Division 1, and I believe Norwalk.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that, and I believe we're on Maple Grove, or I don't even know if we're going to do Maple Grove National event this year. Norwalk, I believe Charlotte's 4 wides, and kind of just go from there and see how we're doing points wise, and as far as national events go.
Right,
so.
right. Yeah, and that's the nice thing is that, like I said, you start doing that early in the season, and then you can kind of look back, later and say, all right, do I want to keep this up, or realistically, do I have a realistic shot? Because quite frankly, if you're not going to win the division, it doesn't make any sense to keep going, unless you just want to add, potentially add more Wallies or go hang out with your buddies at the races.
Right.
And from a
who wants that?
That's right.
Darn the bad luck. Huh?
Yeah. And from a national standpoint, though, I have to say, until you've done it, I would certainly like that single-digit number. Having a single-digit number on the car would definitely be cool.
That would be awesome.
But from a payout standpoint, if you're not going to finish in the top 2, it basically doesn't make any sense.
That's what we started looking, and I just expected they'd pay the top 10.
Right.
Kind of like IHRA had, and, we started looking at it, and I'm like, wow, you got to finish first or second.
Yeah.
It's pretty stout.
Well, or stingy, however you want to look at it.
One way or the other, you know, but we had a great time. It was, it was fun. We met a lot of new people,
right.
Great people. We were the new kid on the block, so, it was kind of neat, Nobody knew our game. Nobody knew what we were doing, so, let's see if we can do it again this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what was that reception like?
Very nerve-wracking, I've never done any speaking, especially, in front of 500 people. So, you have to have an acceptance speech ready. And we were towards the end of the deal. There's probably 40 people ahead of us, and everybody at our table said, boy, it was funny, Dinner was over, they started their award ceremony, and you were quiet, and we've never seen you that way before. But I said I was a nervous wreck, but I guess it went all right. Nobody booed me off the stage. So,
how about the reception on the NHRA circuit as a whole? Like you kind of alluded to, you're the new guy there, and nobody really knew what you were up to.
You
showed
it
up
was
with the oddball combination.
Well, we came out in Richmond, and we did well down there, and had a few guys ask us, are you guys planning on running the whole deal, or what's the scoop? And I said, well, we're going to hit a few races and go from there. But it was kind of, it was a little standoffish, I guess, at first, but
you're not part of the clique, right? You're the new guy.
I was the new guy,
right.
So probably somewhere in the middle of the season, we won Epping, and that was kind of, I guess they're here to stay. I don't know.
Right.
It was kind of a different deal after that,
What were they questioning you? With that string of luck that you had at the first leg of the season, you had to be wondering a lot about what you wanted to do too. What did that reception and that atmosphere become? Were they questioning your sanity at that point?
I was questioning the sanity. You know, like I said, we planned on 4 races, and I think Lebanon Valley was going to be our last race.
Mm-hmm.
And then to take over the points there, and I was like, let's stick it out and go with it. But everybody was good overall. It was just, it was kind of quiet at the beginning. The new guy in the group. So
it's amazing how fast you make friends when you're winning.
It's kind of fun too, right?
It certainly doesn't hurt. Yeah, and it definitely ups the enjoyment level quite
Absolutely,
a bit.
Like I said, we ended up meeting a pile of great people when it was all said and done. But that stepping stone to get there,
right?
It was kind of.
And was it just intimidation, really? I mean, you mentioned that earlier. I mean, was it intimidation that kept you from really going and, I guess, racing some NHRA races earlier than that? Or was it just, looking at the travel? I mean, obviously, when you first started, this area was heavy IHRA. So you could go and race a bunch of races and not have to travel that far to do it. So it really didn't make sense to a certain extent to say, I'm going to go travel 6 or 8 hours to go race NHRA. But did it finally get to the point once IHRA kind of dried up in this area that it was like, well, geez, I don't know if I want to or feel comfortable doing that or can race with those guys?
Well, that was the first thing, you question, can you do it,
Yep.
I mean, but you look at IHRA and there's a pile of great racers there,
Oh, yeah.
You'll still see the same people on both sides.
That's right.
Regardless, and, but you still do, you question it, I've done okay over here, can I go over there and do okay?
Right.
And I said my big thing is I wanted to know, can I be competitive over there?
Mm-hmm.
And when your buddies are ragging on you need a wally, you got to try, right? So I'm glad I was able to do that part of it,
Yeah.
But it was intimidating at first,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard horror stories about how tech was going to be, and so not that I don't know my stuff's good,
Right.
but just going through it, and it was a whole new ball game just to learn. So
Right.
once we got our feet wet, we were fine. But like you said, the travel aspect, 6 hours is normal.
Right.
I mean, you get in Thursday afternoon, and you're making a mad dash before the track closes the gates so you can get parked in. Last year we sat alongside the road at Lebanon Valley. Our motorhome was about cocked off to the side, and the tractor trailers going by beeping their horns and about blowing you over,
Right.
So it was get there a little sooner and take an extra half a day of work or whatever, but made it a little simpler that way. But
Yeah, I think it was the last year that I traveled. I remember pulling into Chicago at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and that was, first day of time trials, being woken up. I shouldn't even say waking up, being woken up 2 hours later as they're banging on the door of the motorhome. Come on, it's time to come in. And then, unloading the car. And, same thing, I had to get a cleanup because I missed first round of super gas qualifying. But when you're a working slob, you can't take unlimited time off, right? So it was like I would work Wednesday until 5 o'clock, then get on the road and start driving. And I have to say that's a tough deal. It's tough to get a couple hours sleep and then say, all right, I'm going to get in the car and be on.
Well, that's it. We went to Lebanon or Epping, and we had left late that night, or late Thursday night, so we didn't pull into the racetrack till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Same deal at 6:30. It's up and get ready to go park. Yep. And by then the place is full. And when your motorhome and trailer is 75 feet long, you can't park just anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we're down there juggling around, and we ended up with an awesome spot right up against the fence at the finish line. So that part was neat. But we took our motorcycle this summer a lot, so. After the races, we could jump on the bike and go for a ride and go see the area instead of being stuck at the track. So we were able to go, and we rode the coast, and we had a buddy up there showed us around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's from he was a local from the area,
Yep.
so showed us the area, took us out to dinner, and so that part was awesome. I mean,
Right.
it ended up being a really cool weekend, and then top it off with a win.
Sure.
Just add a little extra.
Right.
So.
Right. Now, you mentioned your brother. Obviously, it's you and Carrie that go to basically all the races. Does your brother go with you too, or no?
He came to, I believe, Norwalk's Night Under Fire this year.
Okay.
He's got a couple young ones, so
Okay.
it's tough for him. So
Yeah.
he doesn't like to leave them at home. So a lot of times, if Carrie's not on call, Carrie goes with me, and it's just the two of us a lot of times. So
Right. Now, so question. So, you originally from Shinglehouse, Pennsylvania?
originally I was born in Chester, PA, which is just outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
I was about 3 years old when my dad moved us up there.
And that was to Shinglehouse?
To Shinglehouse.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is totally off topic of racing, but I'm curious because I looked at the map the other day and I was wondering what industry would drive somebody to live in Shinglehouse? Where do people work in Shinglehouse that live in Shinglehouse?
We have Olean, New York's nearby.
It's not far.
Wellsville's nearby. There's Dresser there. There's Preeter.
So is it just, so I guess I should
Shinglehouse
say.
is just one of those outside little communities that, at least we're still in PA, so we got those good taxes.
Right. So is it one of these things where if you live there, it's, so it's a 40-minute ride to work, who cares, type of thing. Everyone gets used to that type of thing?
I think a lot of it, originally Coudersport was 20 minutes away, which Adelphia was, based in Coudersport. So
Right.
we had a lot of, that. We had Olean Tile was in Olean. We had Ethan Allen in Eldred, which is, 20, 25 minutes
Yep.
away. So,
Yep.
it's, I guess, kind of like you guys living in the suburbs going into the city
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something similar. But my dad was actually a teamster in Philadelphia, or just outside of Philly.
Okay.
And he got laid off, and he had to come up to Pennsylvania or to Shinglehouse and hunted and fished, and he says, I'm just going to move up there. I think he might have had an apartment building or something he had bought, so he
Okay.
could come up hunting and fishing.
All right. Well,
So he said, let's move up there and try it, and here we are still there, So
well, that's cool. So
and
now
we never hunted and fished. We went somewhere else and went racing then, So
So you started racing at Beaver Springs.
yes.
Now, what drove you, I guess, to leave Beaver Springs and then start racing at Empire locally?
It's a lot closer for Empire. Empire takes us an hour and 45 minutes. Beaver Springs was like 3.5.
Oh, okay. I thought Beaver Springs would have been closer than that for you.
No.
How far is New Media?
New Media is probably about 4 hours for us.
Oh, geez.
So we're just in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
Dirt tracks were big in our area, and
Yes, they are.
yeah, we got McKean County and
Yeah.
Little Valley, 30 years ago we had sponsored, or before 30 years ago, I guess, we'd sponsored a couple local guys, and finally my dad says one day, he said, let's go drag racing instead. So he took me to Beaver Springs when I was 14 years old or something. I'm like,
So much
Dad,
cleaner.
we got to go. So kind of addicted right after that, and we bought our 63 Nova back then.
So your dad didn't have any experience racing prior to that?
No, not at all. So we started when I was, I just turned 15. We started racing that year.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I would say that's not your typical story that you hear, right? Usually it's like, oh, yeah, the old man was a car guy, and,
he was always into cars. We had hot rods and stuff, but, he took us to the races that one weekend, and I'm like, we got to do this again,
Yeah.
And so I kept pestering him, and finally he decided it was a good thing to keep us, off the streets and, not out carousing all the time, and it worked, he kept us broke, no drinking, no smoking, but, it worked. We never got in much trouble. We were always busy working,
Right.
So I guess it worked in the long run.
Now, and what year was that?
1987 we started.
So was Empire, I don't think was...
I believe they were just getting back up and running, I think, somewhere through there.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I thought it might have been like 88. Was it 87 was the first year? Or say, okay, we're getting...
Yeah, I knew we went there like once or twice in 88, 89, somewhere through there, and we just decided, we'd go back to Beaver Springs, and I think 92 or 93 we finally decided to go up there and start running full time.
Okay.
I think 89 we ran points at Beaver Springs, so there's many a nights. You leave Saturday afternoon, run to Beaver Springs, race
Yep.
Sunday, or Sunday, and drive home Sunday night, or get up at 4:00 Sunday morning and go racing. So. Well, we had our own service station, so.
Now, you still have your own service station?
We still have a service station. My brother and I run that now, so.
Okay. So at least we know.
That's why he doesn't go racing so much, right?
Oh, so he's got to hold down. Someone's got to hold down the fort while someone else.
Proudly serving all 38 residents of Shinglehouse.
Actually, come on, we got 1,200 people here.
I was going to say, now we know at least what 5% of the population of Shinglehouse does, right?
Wow, Carrie, they're beating us up pretty bad over here.
No, I was just surprised because I expected. When I looked, like I said, when I looked at the map, I expected there to be, one big factory, and it's like
not in Shinglehouse itself.
Yeah, no, I didn't see anything.
Nope.
So yeah, my conclusion was that all right, yeah, these guys must travel to Olean or Wellsville or or whatever.
The majority of them, yes.
Or obviously you have small communities that everybody, every community needs a pizza place, right? Everybody needs a gas station, a service station to fix their cars, and that's like, well, maybe it's just a nice small community like that where everybody is doing different service jobs. But
a lot of them work out of town. I mean, we do have our small stuff in town. The gas station, convenience stores, drugstore. But we even had a little bowling alley. Come on.
Wow. Still open?
A couple nights a week.
Yeah, nice.
We have league nights, so
Are you a bowler too?
I gave that up a couple of years ago, but for 20-some years I did that.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
And were you any good?
All right, I guess. A couple of 300 rings, so did all right.
That's cool.
A couple of them, I suppose I did all right. So
yeah, you did okay. Yeah, you did okay.
298, 99, a couple 300. So
I would say I don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be quite a few guys who are drag racers and bowlers. I don't know if there's some connection there, if it's just that bowling's in the winter and racing's in the summer. I don't know what it is, but
on league nights, the other teams always got mad at Ed because he was the only guy on the only team that required a tree in order to know when
when to go.
Right. Yeah, I know. John Jablonski. I know he's a big bowler. Ken Iamili and I think Brandon. I think his son.
Brandon does too. He's
big
a really
bowler.
good bowler, I believe.
I know there's more guys too, but those are the ones that kind of off the top of my head right away. And the same general idea. Sierra, actually. Sierra, I'm pretty sure is
really.
Is he a bowler too?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. And it's like
even a couple of guys I met this summer out racing. They're bowlers too.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, I guess it is one of those deals.
It kills
wintertime
me.
Sport.
It kills me too with guys like you. It's like, yeah, I got a couple 300 games. It's like, man,
it took me a long time to get that too. Come on now.
Well, I'm sure. But
I threw them both the same season within a month. I think they were a month to the day. Never threw an 800. I could never do that. I had back-to-back 279s I opened with one night, but I couldn't. I think I choked the last game. I left a few 10 pins and threw 770s.
You're shaking your head.
Just listening.
Yeah.
just listening.
I'm curious, is there anything that...
Is there anything you're not awesome at? That's your question, right?
Oh, well.
Come on now. Jeez, you're going to make me blush. I don't like red so much, so...
That wasn't the question, but I was curious if there was anything that transferred from bowling to drag racing. I mean, I would say probably at least one part of it. I bet you is concentration. I'm sure.
I think that's a big part.
I'm sure that's part of it. But anyways, the other question that I had too that I was wondering this morning as I was thinking about coming to the show was, where did Orange Crate Racing come from?
Can't imagine how many people asked that. We got the Nova back in '87. I grew up probably from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, and orange was always my favorite color. And, then I realized probably that, orange was my dad's favorite color, and, that's probably where I got it from,
Sure.
We painted the Nova orange, and my dad's like, back in the 60s, 70s, everything had a name on it, So he's like, what are we going to name this car, So we worked on this and worked on that, and it ended up being Orange Crate. So it started off as Ed's Orange Crate, and we've got some pictures of the car with a big Ed's Orange Crate, and the Orange Crate was done in like a wooden sort of logo on it, and eventually it just got downsized to Orange Crate Racing, and we actually had a used car lot for a while. It was Orange Crate Auto Sales as well. So, picture the dragster up on the sign. So
now you said you're having the dragster repainted.
Weeks. We decided time for a new look on it. We were going to wrap it this year, and we got talking in the shop the other day and decided it's going to get painted instead. So time for a change, you know.
And we're going to go
see
big.
if I can hide out.
I would say we're going to go big. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen.
I can always hope, right?
With the double-digit number on the hood scoop.
We did opt for the double digit, and we're going to be wearing the number 11 this year. So.
You opted? Was there ever a question that you weren't going to do it?
Yeah, I've never had such good luck when I started using those numbers. So, a lot of times I've just decided to go with my regular number, which I could have still done last year. But
so now, do you have any? What's your NHRA Super Comp permanent number?
147M.
Okay, I'm assuming you don't have any real.
I had 1476 in IHRA forever.
Okay,
I just couldn't get it in NHRA when we decided to get a number. So, they threw my M in there for McCleaft, I'm assuming. So,
okay.
And every time I renew it, I've actually had my license for a couple of years. We decided to hit Norwalk for our first division race 2 years ago when we still had the Sheila deal.
Yep.
Just to hand out brownie brittle,
Right.
We thought it'd be a great place to do that. So, this year when I renewed my number, I'm like, hey, is my 1476 available yet? That way I can have the same for everything. But, I've got it for 1090 in IHRA too.
Yeah.
Top dragster, that's just the one number that I've had for years. So
it is funny how little things like that, there's value in that. And it's silly. I mean, it's a number you put on the side of your car. It's like, to a certain extent, who cares? But 1838's been on the side of the Corvette mid-70s somewhere, and it's like I couldn't imagine
something else.
Yeah, having something else, right? And I remember Fletcher, Dan, and I should know what his number was, 17 something. I should know, but I remember the first year that he finished in the top 10. He really struggled with taking that off the car and putting that number 5, or I think it was 5 that he finished on the side of the car. I'm like, Dan, are you serious? It's like your old man would have, he'd have that 1726 or whatever it is. He'd have it off the car already, right? And I guess that's the thing with myself too. It's like, yeah, even though my dad ran 1838, if my dad could put a 2 on the window, there'd be no doubt.
What are you waiting for, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've had a few people tell me, geez, are you really thinking about that? So we just go with it, try it, see if it's got any luck with it,
So what's the plan for the paint for the car?
I don't know. It's still up in the air right now. So
orange?
It's got to have orange in it. We actually had done it black this time, and just did a bunch of bright orange on it.
I thought it was sharp. I liked it.
A lot of people said that. It was different from what we were used to.
Right.
I decided it was time to drive an orange car again. So it's going to have some orange on there. We're just not 100% sure what it's going to look like yet. So.
Right.
It'll be a surprise. Come on, I can't let everything go.
So, and that's you're gonna start working on that next week, 2 weeks.
I think we're gonna take some of the logos off or some of the stickers off tomorrow, maybe.
Yep.
If we have time, and see how the paint looks and how it holds up under there. See if it pulls any paint off. If we got any body work to do. But probably next weekend, I think we're gonna try painting it. So.
And then you mentioned this car show that you're doing then in Olean too at the Olean Mall. What's that all about?
March 17th, 18th, and 19th. Olean Center Mall. We'll be down there. This will be, I think, 19 or 20 years. I don't remember 100% sure whether we were there the first year with the dragster or if it was the second year with the dragster.
Yeah.
So it was either 97 or 98 was our first year in there. It was basically a stock car show for years, and we tried getting our Nova in there, and with no luck at all. And finally, I went to him and I said, "Hey, look, how about we do this dragster deal?" "Oh, okay." He said, "We set up the parachute open behind the car and had, I think eventually we ended up having the Christmas tree. We've got a full size tree we put down there.
Okay.
On occasion, we don't do it every year, but
yep.
So it's just turned into one of those deals. You go down and see a lot of your, friends that you've known forever don't know what you drive. I know you have a dragster, but some people envision it as a little go-kart. I mean, they really have no idea. Or you'll talk to this person or that person, and
I guarantee every guy sitting in this room that has a drag car has been asked by somebody that doesn't really know the sport. "Oh, so you have a dragster?" It's like, "No, I don't have a dragster." And then you have to try to explain what it is, and it's like, "Oh, you have one of those cars where the body comes up, one of those funny things?" "No, I don't have one of those." So we all, actually, everybody in this room, I can guarantee, has a dragster. You're the only one that officially has one, at least, I think. But so it's the car show. I mean, at this point, are you just going just to hang out with your buddies?
We've got a lot of local sponsors in the area, from Olean and Shinglehouse, Cowder Sport. So go down there and give them some press, or we've been in the Olean Times Herald numerous times as well. So
I would say you've done. I don't think you want to give your secrets away, because you've done a really good job over the years with the sponsorship aspect of your program. You've had a couple of really big sponsors. I think Sheila G's probably being the biggest of which. But I mean, you just did a really great job. Not only landing that sponsor, but then being an ambassador for them as well, right? And I don't know, whose idea it was, but to take the brownie brittle out to the track and give away free samples, I mean, that's just such a great idea. And, I can't tell you the number of people that never had it or heard of it before, tried it basically at the track because of the interaction with you and became essentially lifelong customers. And, I know that last year you had, is it 360 Rise?
360 Rise, yeah.
So, they had the 360-degree video cameras.
Hard to hand
right?
out GoPros at every race.
It's hard, definitely.
Get a little expensive.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a cool gadget, I guess.
It was a really neat deal. It was just like sitting in the car. Have you checked out the video?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can download 360 Rise and check out the video. I mean, it was just like you're sitting in the car, just like myself, and you could look all the way around in the car. It was a really neat deal. I think we had 6 or 7 GoPros on that run. And it hung, we milled them out, and it hung right outside, over top of my car.
Yep. Have you seen that, Chris? Yeah.
One of them we did, I think it had 12 or 14. It was doing a 3D 360.
Oh, no kidding.
And towards the end of probably around 8th mile, 1,000 foot, I guess the whole rig came loose. And, I'm like, every time I'd make a pass, the first thing I'd do, and I'd look up and see if everything's still there,
Yeah.
But I guess there's a lot of neat video that's still out there that, I haven't even seen. But it was a neat deal. And
so how does a guy from sleepy little Shinglehouse, PA, essentially, go out and do such a great job marketing himself? Is it
timing's a lot of it, and putting yourself out there in front of the right people? I really don't know what the answer.
You're obviously not afraid to be told no, right?
Well, it's disheartening, and
well, sure, no one likes
you, but
right.
If you give up after the first no, or you lose first round, or whatever, you're not going to go anywhere. So yeah, if you're told no, oh well, fix what you did wrong, and you move on. And
right.
Hopefully, you can put another deal together, or some of the names that's been on the car now have been on there probably 20 years.
Like who?
Supreme Auto Parts. They've been on there forever.
Yep.
I really can't tell you how long they've been on there. And there's getting other ones now on there as well. J&R Auto Parts. They, one's a used car dealer, parts, and
yep.
J&R's a CarQuest dealer.
Yep.
We deal with CarQuest through our shop, and they've been there all along. We take the car down, put it on display for them. At least once a year we try to. If not, we get down there a couple times a year. Fez's Diner's been on there for years. Same deal there, we take it down and put it on display.
Right.
I've had a couple buddies say, they can't find a sponsor. Well, you guys live in Rochester or Buffalo. Go talk. Don't be afraid. Go talk.
Yeah.
It's like, take the car down and put it on display. If they're not going to be, right there and at the racetrack, and try seeing it, or get them to make up a coupon that you can hand out.
Right.
Anything. Get a little interaction so they see, a return on investment. That's what they want in the long run. So.
A lot of people don't go after the sponsors in our cities.
It's too much work,
Well, not even that. They hear about this other guy that went there and struck out, so they don't even bother knocking on the door, because they hear, well, that guy's not into racing, that guy's not into motorsports. They don't even bother trying. It's like everybody's into sales.
Absolutely.
Right.
If it can lead to sales,
it might
then
not
it
have
doesn't
been the
matter
right
what it
fit,
is.
So.
Now I see you wearing the K&N hat. So I mean, K&N been helping you this year?
It's still in the works. You know, it was the cleanest hat I had.
I say they're obviously a big supporter, right? And when
Do you need me to share this video for you real quick so you know you wore the hat?
Yeah.
Where's Greg at? You know, they have helped in the past. I'm not going to say they haven't. You know, and any helps. You know, whether you start off small with a company or you know you're fortunate and you get in. You know, the Sheila deal didn't start off as the wrapped car, the wrapped trailer, and all that. You know, I mean, it was a one-race deal in Memphis is what it started out as.
Yep.
And down there, I said, you know, they sent us a whole skid of brownie brittle, you know, and I said, my wife Carrie, I mean, my dad and my brother and everybody that was with us, you know, I mean, we had, I think 6 or 8 people down there that weekend, and I said, look, you know, we got to just go and make sure everybody here has tried it when we're done. And we did. I mean, we rode around on a golf cart or, you know, people would stop by. We'd have a little display set up behind the trailer, you know. And Doug from Sheila G's, he flew in from Florida and met us that weekend. And, you know, there's kind of trash laying all over the place where people, you know, they just throw their empty bag. But, you know, it's blowing all over the track. And every garbage can you look in, there's 4 or 5 bags in there. And, you know, he said, I love what you guys have done, you know. And I said, before you leave, let's talk a little bit, you know. And, you know, we ended up working out a deal where the car was wrapped and the trailer was wrapped, and, you know, they turned into an amazing sponsor, you know. And I'm not saying that any of them that we have aren't amazing sponsors, you know. I mean,
sure,
just some of them aren't quite at that, you know,
at that level,
that scale. Absolutely.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah, and that's a much tougher deal. You know, the easy ones are the ones, and not that anyone is easy, but the easier ones are the ones where you say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go and let's call it Napa. I'm going to go to Napa and say, hey, you know, can you give me some cases of oil and I'll put your name on the side of the car, right? It's a lot easier to get product than it is to actually get cold, hard cash. And when you start talking about, okay, you know, trying to sell, you know, you think, all right, I'm at the races, so car people, I'm going to try and sell them car parts or some type of racing thing. All right, now I'm trying to do brownie brittle. It's like, okay, well, this isn't your typical...
And I think that's what was good about it, you know, in a way, because you were bringing something outside that whole, you know, auto part industry, you know, you're bringing that in. And, I mean, they were awesome and handed us bags and bags. I think we handed out, I don't know, somewhere in the 18,000 bag area, you know. I mean, that's like you said, I mean, we'd go and, you know, hey, they'd see our trailer pull in. That's awesome, you know. And, it was unfortunate to see him go, and, you know, hey, we'd love to see another snack company come on board.
Sure.
I know we can do a great job. And, you know, Sheila's even said, you know, anything you need, if I can help out, you know, as far as, you know, reference or whatever, I mean, have them call me. We'll do, you know, you did a great job, but unfortunately that business went a different direction. You know, so.
Yeah, and you can never be mad, really.
No,
I mean, really, you have to be just thankful. Hey, you know what? I'm thankful that I even had the opportunity to work with them at that point in time.
And you learn a lot from that, you know.
Oh,
I mean, you know, if you can just learn a little bit here and there, and, you know, we learned a pile of how the whole marketing part of it went, you know. So you just keep working on it, you know. The 360 was a really neat deal. And, I mean, unfortunately, they're not going to be on the car this year. Not saying they won't, you know, come back and be on there towards the end of the year. You know, we put them on, I think, in August, I believe, this year. Right. So, you know, you never know what might happen there, but you keep your ears open and, you know, see what pops up. You know? Just do a lot of talking. You can't be afraid to, you know, be told no, you know. Heard that a few times.
Well, we are going to be, a few minutes here, we are going to be taking a quick break and transitioning over to the second stream that we have set up on the Facebook page for the folks with the Gas Racing series. So you're going to see the screen. You know, we're going to do our regular rollout, and then we're going to start the next show of our doubleheader evening. But we talked a lot about the folks that have helped you out this year. Is there anybody else that you wanted to mention real quick before we get on our way?
Oh, you know, we do have, you know, thanks to my wife, I mean, to put up with what we do, I mean, everybody knows that, you know. It's kind of one of those, geez, you better say it, and well, it's true, you know. I mean, we live a funky lifestyle, I guess, if you want to say, you know. It's very odd and takes the right person to deal with it, you know. So I appreciate that, you know. I mean, probably more than she even knows, you know. But my brothers, mainly, my one brother covers us while we're gone,
Yep.
But the sponsor end, to the financial help, some is parts, and others financial, so
It all
every
helps.
little bit helps,
That's
know,
right.
and that's what I tell everybody, every little bit helps, We've got ladder and ladder fencing on there. They've helped us out, They're fairly new. They've only been on there 2 or 3 years now, but every year they come back, so it's awesome. And sometimes they're your friends, whether they have, you help out your friends, they help you out, or however it works out. But Norton's Building Supply been on there for years, and we just got a deal with Hoosier this year.
Oh,
So
nice job.
that's pretty
Congratulations.
awesome. We were fortunate. We tried one of the new tires they had out last year, the BR1.
Okay, yep.
So we were
That
kind
obviously
of
worked.
relaying back and forth with Hoosier, with all the designers, and it was kind of a neat deal to be involved with. So we've got a deal with them this year, and so every little bit helps, and I'm kind of excited to get ready to fly this year again. Hopefully we can have a little luck again.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, this
appreciate
year.
it.
Certainly appreciate you making the trip up and coming and hanging out with us, and stay in touch for sure through the course of the season. Let us know how everything's progressing, and hopefully you can have the twin of that trophy sitting on
That'd
your
be
mantle
kinda
next year. Would be pretty neat. That is going to do it for episode number 9 of the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast. We'll be back in just a few minutes with all the folks from the GRS, the Gas Racing Series. That's going to do it for us for now. We'll see you right back here again in just a little bit. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.